Do a video a little different today. As you see, we're gonna be outside since we have what's considered beautiful weather here in Belgium. If it's not raining, you need to come outside and enjoy the weather over here. It rains a lot. So I kind of want to talk about just my financial journey so far. I started in 2020, so I'm 4 years in, going on my fifth year, and I've learned a lot. There's been a lot that's gone on already, and so I kind of want to discuss that today. How I came about the idea and just what it's been like so far. So, like I said, we started in 2020. At the time, we lived in Texas, myself, my wife, and we had two kids. My wife worked for the government out there at a base, and I had a teaching job. So we didn't get home till late every day. We were doing the typical thing. My wife worked hard. She wouldn't get home till 6:30. I would teach, and then after school, I would have an after school job, so I wouldn't get off till around 6:30 as well. We weren't making a ton of money by any means. I was on a teacher salary, so you can kind of figure that out on your own. And she was, a GS-12, so you can look up that pay scale if you want to down in Texas. So neither one of us was making six figures, even close. But I knew that retiring early was something that really was, sparked my interest. I don't remember exactly how I came across it. Um, I just remember not necessarily loving my job and just thinking like, man, I still got to go till, age 60 or whatever. That's a long way to go, like doing something you don't love. And my wife is always on the side of do a job you love and find purpose in. And she's gotten lucky and had that to a degree. I've never had that, so I don't even know what that looks like. So for me, I was like, you know what? I want out as early as possible. And I want to be able to go do what I want to do, explore the things I want to explore, and not have to worry about, clocking in, clocking out, and the stresses that come with work and all that jazz. So it was really intriguing to me. So when we started in 2020, I spent a lot of time researching, looking into, different investment vehicles because I was already a good saver. So I had that going for me. But I had no idea on the investment front, right? So I came across, of course, you can invest in real estate, you can invest in stocks, you can buy a business, things like that. I came across all that. And the one that kind of stood out to me was stocks because I figured I can do that from anywhere. It's not really as involved as real estate, and I'm brand new, so I kind of want to get my feet wet with that. So that's what I chose. So I'm doing a lot of research, and 2020 we all know what happened, right? COVID happened in March. So in March the stock not it didn't start in March, but in March is when the stock market really took notice and just took a nosedive. And I had money saved up because I had already been prepping myself to get involved in the stock market and doing my research. So it worked out well for me. I was already ready. I knew what I wanted to invest in. Um, so I saw it as an opportunity, right? I would watch the news every day, and it was just the end of the world was coming. Stocks are plummeting, all this stuff going on. And so I'm like, yeah, you know what? Like I get to buy on a discount. So I'm gonna go ahead and just dump all this money. And that's exactly what I did. I dumped all the money I had saved into the stock market. Vanguard, so VTI was the ticker symbol. It's their total stock market. Um, and it worked out well because as we know now, 2020 hindsight is 2020. That it was a V-shaped recovery, so it bounced back pretty quick, and I looked like a stud. um, so much so that I decided to go pick a couple individual stocks, which I do not recommend unless you really, really do your research. But, I got lucky because, again, they were still pretty beat up from COVID times. So I got lucky on those as well. But again, I wouldn't recommend that unless you really do your research. So that was basically our first year. We're just, put money in the stock market. I opened a brokerage account. We opened two Roth IRAs, one for myself, one for my wife. And we came to the realization, and this was heartbreaking, right? My wife had a 401k with a 5% match for her job for the duration of her time with the government, which at the point was, I want to say like 13 years, right? But here's what sucks. That money was all going into the G fund. If you don't know anything about it, the G fund is like the safe fund. It's like just the account. So the money just sits there. It doesn't grow. So all that time that money could have been growing, it wasn't. It was just sitting there. And I did the math later on. It came out to hundreds of thousands of dollars that we could have made if we had switched over to a different fund. So that hurts. That really hurts. But we didn't know. You know, that's just the way the game goes. It's all in the correct fund now. So we made the adjustment there. We opened an HSA account as well. Again, I was doing a lot of research, a lot of learning at the time. So we had all those accounts opened, and we're just continuing to shovel money in there, to save as much as we can, to budget, to be mindful what we're spending, and to put as much money in there as possible. And this goes on for about a year, at which point my wife gets picked up for a job over here in Belgium, which is where we are now, which means you have to up and move. And, you know, it's not just a normal move, it's a move to Europe. Now, we have both lived in Europe before as kids, so we were not super terrified, but nervous nonetheless. My biggest concern was how was work going to look for me, because I knew it was a pretty small area we're going to. And because of that fear, I determined that, you know what, I want to buy a rental property before we go, just in case I can't find work. And so that's what we did. We took a couple months. We ended up buying the house we were living in at the time for the purpose of renting it out. And that actually worked out well. We still had that rental property, and I'm glad we did, because it took me a year to find a job over here, which was bananas. And I was applying left and right. I could not get any hits. So we came over here, like I said, about a year of me just applying for jobs, her working super hard. They put her to work right away, you know, adjusting to being in Europe. The second year, I just ended up taking just whatever jobs I could get. So for a while there, I was working 4 different jobs. They were all part-time, a little over part-time. And I was running between 2 different bases. So I was always on the move, working these different jobs, but none of them were high paying. So I still really wasn't making good money at all, even though I was hustling a lot. I did finally get a full-time job at a digital training facility, which I loved that job. It was introducing me to tech. It was a little tech related. It was a contract job, and the pay was okay. Unfortunately, it was a contract, like I said, and within 3 months of being there full time, contract ended. They gave us a call on Wednesday. By Friday, you got to be up and out of there. So that was a hit, man. I was really bummed out. You know, about a week or so later, luckily, I heard from a friend of mine that there was an opening at the college there that he was leaving. So I was able to, you know, work through him and get an interview there and get that job. That's the job I currently have. And this job actually pays more, and it pays for my education. So it actually worked out in the end. But at the time, it was brutal, man. Like I really loved that job, and I saw a future with that company before I got the boot. So that's where I am now. I'm at this current job, and you know, our savings rate is now higher than it's ever been, and it's a combination of things. It's a combination that this job I have now, while it still doesn't pay a lot, pays me more than I've ever made. I've never been a super high earner, right? Unfortunately. But the combination of that and the fact that the government moved us overseas, so they now pay our housing, means we really don't have any bills, and we get to put away a lot of money. And we get to explore Europe, because it's pretty cheap to travel between countries. So we do that a lot and show the kids, you know, what the rest of the world looks like. And they get to go to what's the equivalent of a private school in the States for free, because it's on the base. So there's definitely benefits over here. It's been 4 years. A lot has changed. We've made a lot of changes in order to, I'm not going to say we did all that for early retirement. That was part of it. But the schools was part of it, so the kids can go to better schools, and exploring Europe was also a big part of it. But, you know, 4 years in, lots of changes. We're trucking along, and we're getting closer to our goal. So we should reach our goal in about 6 years. That's the estimate. You know, and if we get raises or anything like that, that obviously speeds it up. If the stock market agrees with us, that speeds it up as well. So that's basically our 4-year journey so far in a nutshell. I will say that it's been kind of a grind. It's all about consistency. It's all about investing in things that you understand, and not just what's clickbait on YouTube somewhere. It's about the long game. It's not get rich quick by any means, but it can be done. So that's pretty much our journey so far. I hope this helps. If anyone's thinking about starting, or if you have any questions or comments, just leave me a comment below. Thank you. See you next week.